It is 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. You are at your desk, staring at a screen. Your third coffee of the day is sitting next to your keyboard. There is a half-eaten granola bar beside it from an hour ago. You have been sitting in the same chair since 9 a.m., and your belly fat is growing right now. Not because of what you ate for lunch, not because you skipped the gym this morning, because of what is happening inside your body during these 8 hours that nobody ever talks about. Here is the part that genuinely stopped me when I first understood it. You spend more time working than doing anything else in your waking life. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 2,000 hours a year, and during all of that time, your body is making hundreds of small metabolic decisions every single hour. Most people focus on the 30 minutes of exercise they did or did not do. They obsess over what they ate for breakfast or whether they had dessert. But the 8 hours in between, the ones spent at a desk, on a job site, in a store, on a commute, those hours are quietly deciding where your belly fat goes. And for most people, those hours are working against them in ways they have never been shown. I am going to walk you through 7 habits today. Some of them are things lean people do naturally without ever calling them health habits. Some of them are mistakes almost every working person makes while thinking they are just getting through the day. Stay with me because habit number 4 is one most people use to boost their energy and productivity at work, and it is destroying their fat burning for the entire night that follows. Before we start, drop a comment. What kind of work do you do and how many coffees do you usually have before 3 p.m.? I want to know where most people watching this are actually starting from. A study published in the Journal of Occupational Health found that desk workers had cortisol baselines 23% higher than people whose jobs involved regular movement. Chronically elevated cortisol is one of the most consistent predictors of visceral fat accumulation in research. Your workday creates 3 conditions simultaneously that almost guarantee fat storage. Chronic stress keeps cortisol elevated for hours. Sitting still shuts down fat-burning enzymes. Continuous snacking and caffeine keep insulin elevated without pause. 7 small habits change what those 8 hours do to your body. None of them require extra time in your day. Habit number 1. Drinking water continuously, instead of waiting until you are thirsty. When your body is mildly dehydrated, just 1 to 2% of body weight, your kidneys signal your liver to help filter waste. While your liver is helping, it reduces its capacity to metabolize stored fat. Fat burning pauses. The second effect is more practical. Mild dehydration creates signals nearly identical to hunger in your brain. Most afternoon cravings between 2 and 4 p.m. are not hunger. They are thirst wearing a disguise. A study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology found that 500 milliliters of water increased metabolic rate by 30% for 30 to 40 minutes. Not from exercise. From water alone. Sarah is a tax accountant who started keeping a 1-liter bottle on her desk every morning with one rule: finish it before 3 p.m. In 3 weeks, her afternoon cravings dropped significantly without changing anything else. Put a 1-liter bottle where you can see it. Your brain will remind you to drink without alarms or apps. Habit number 2. Snacking continuously through the workday. This is the mistake that modern office culture has completely normalized. Picture the average workplace. Cookies on the conference table from the morning meeting, a bowl of mixed nuts at someone's desk you walk past 3 times a day. The vending machine at the end of the hallway that starts calling your name at 3 p.m. A colleague who brought in birthday cake, and now the entire floor smells like frosting. None of this feels like a problem because everyone is doing it, but here is what it is doing to your fat burning throughout the day. Every time you eat, even a small amount, your pancreas releases insulin. Insulin is a storage hormone. Its presence in your bloodstream tells your body to store energy, not burn it. For fat burning to actually happen between meals, insulin needs to fall low enough that your body has no other option but to pull from stored fat. That fall takes time, typically 2 to 3 hours after a meal with no additional food in between. If you eat something every hour and a half throughout your workday, insulin never falls. Not once. From 8 a.m. until 6 p.m., you are in continuous fat storage mode. Mike is a sales manager. He eats reasonably well at his main meals. But through the workday, he snacks almost continuously. A small muffin at 9, some fruit at 11, a protein bar at 2, a few crackers at 4. He genuinely believes he is managing his hunger and eating in a controlled way, but his insulin never drops below the threshold needed for fat burning during the entire workday. A study published in Cell Metabolism compared two groups eating the same total daily calories. One group ate 2 to 3 defined meals with clear gaps in between. The other group spread the same calories across continuous small eating throughout the day. The defined meal group had significantly lower average insulin levels and meaningfully higher fat oxidation across the day. Same total food. Completely different metabolic outcome. The fix is not eating less. It is eating in defined windows with real gaps between them. If a craving hits between meals, drink water first and wait 10 minutes. Most of the time, the craving disappears because it was thirst, not hunger. Habit number 3. Moving lightly, every 45 to 60 minutes. This is another habit lean people do naturally without calling it exercise. Look closely at the leaner people in any workplace. They are the ones who walk to a colleague instead of sending an email. They go to the printer on a different floor. They take the stairs when they could take the elevator. They refill their water bottle more often than necessary. None of this is intentional exercise in their minds. It is just how they move through a day. Here is the biology behind why that matters so much. After 60 to 90 minutes of sitting still, an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, which is responsible for breaking down fat in your blood, reduces its activity by up to 90%. Simultaneously, a protein called GLUT4, which helps your muscles absorb glucose from the blood, stops functioning efficiently. When both of these shut down, glucose and fat circulating in your blood have nowhere productive to go. Insulin steps in and directs them into storage. A study from the University of Missouri found that just 5 minutes of gentle movement every hour was enough to restore GLUT4 activity and measurably reduce insulin spikes after the next meal. A study published in Diabetologia found something even more alarming. Sitting for 8 continuous hours caused insulin resistance equivalent to eating an unhealthy diet for 3 to 4 days. Even people who exercised regularly outside of work had worse metabolic markers on days they sat for long stretches compared to days they moved frequently. For people who do more physical work, this is less of an issue because movement happens naturally. But for anyone who spends significant time stationary, the principle applies in any gap between active periods. The fix does not require a standing desk or a gym at work. Set a reminder every 45 to 60 minutes. When it goes off, stand up and actually move for 5 minutes. Not stand in place. Move somewhere. 5 minutes every hour. That is the difference between a day that works for your metabolism and one that works against it. Habit number 4. Drinking coffee continuously past 2 p.m. This is the habit most people defend most strongly, and it is the one creating the most invisible damage to their fat loss. The afternoon energy dip is real. Cortisol naturally drops in the early afternoon, energy falls, focus blurs. The automatic response for most working people is another coffee. It feels logical. It works in the short term. But here is what that late caffeine is doing to the night that follows. Caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 7 hours depending on the individual. A coffee at 3 p.m. still has half its caffeine active in your system at 8 to 10 p.m. That residual caffeine keeps cortisol from dropping the way it needs to in the evening. And here is why that matters specifically for belly fat. Growth hormone is released primarily during the first half of deep sleep. One of the most powerful fat-burning and muscle-preserving signals your body produces. But cortisol and growth hormone are antagonists. When one is high, the other is suppressed. Late caffeine keeps evening cortisol elevated. Elevated cortisol suppresses the growth hormone pulse that was supposed to burn fat while you sleep. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine found that caffeine consumed 6 hours before bedtime still reduced total sleep time by 1 hour and reduced deep sleep by 30%. 6 hours before, not 1 hour. 6. That means a 3 p.m. coffee is disrupting your sleep and your fat burning for the entire night, even if you fall asleep easily at 10 p.m. James is a software engineer. He used to drink coffee until 4 or 5 p.m. to push through afternoon deadlines. His sleep felt fine. He was not noticing obvious effects. He moved his caffeine cutoff to noon for 3 weeks. He started waking up more rested, his afternoon energy actually stabilized instead of crashing, and within a month, his waistline started responding for the first time in years. Not because he changed his food or his workouts, because he stopped sabotaging his overnight fat-burning window with late caffeine. The fix is a hard caffeine cutoff at noon to 1 p.m., ideally 2 p.m. at the absolute latest. For the afternoon dip, cold water works, a 5-minute walk works, natural light from a window works. All of these improve alertness without touching your overnight fat burning. Habit number 5. Taking micro breaks without a screen. This is the habit that quietly separates people who stay lean through demanding work lives from those who do not. When you feel overloaded during the workday, what does your break actually look like? For most people, it means picking up a phone, scrolling through social media, checking the news, watching a short video. That is not a break. That is switching from one screen to another while your nervous system stays fully activated. Cortisol does not fall during that kind of rest. Your brain is still processing information at high speed. The stress system never gets the chance to downregulate. A genuine microbreak is 5 minutes where your brain stops processing incoming information entirely. This activates something called the default mode network, the brain's internal resting state. During default mode network activation, your brain consolidates information, clears mental fatigue, and allows cortisol to begin falling. Without these windows, cortisol stays elevated throughout the workday without pause. And chronically elevated cortisol throughout the day means chronically elevated fat storage signals, specifically directed at visceral fat. A study published in Psychological Science found that people who took regular screen-free microbreaks throughout the workday had measurably lower cortisol levels by the end of the day and reported higher productivity, not lower. Less cortisol, better output, less belly fat. All from 5 minutes of actual rest. James from our earlier example also added this habit alongside his caffeine cutoff. He started going to the balcony at his office for 5 minutes twice a day. No phone, just looking at the distance and breathing. He said it felt like resetting a circuit breaker. The afternoon fog lifted, he needed the extra coffee less, and his hunger patterns became less erratic. The fix is 3 genuine micro breaks per day, 5 minutes each with no screen. Look out a window, walk a short loop outside, sit somewhere quiet, and breathe slowly. Any activity that does not require your brain to process new information. Habit number 6. Sitting for 3 to 4 hours without moving. This is the mistake most people make while feeling the most productive. You hit a state of focus. Work is flowing. You do not want to break the momentum. 3 hours pass and you have not left your chair once. That feeling of accomplishment is real. But inside your body, something very different has been happening. We covered the enzyme shutdown that comes from sitting in habit 3. Prolonged sitting does something additional beyond just slowing enzyme activity. After 2 or more continuous hours of sitting, blood pools in the lower body and circulation slows. Your lymphatic system, which relies almost entirely on movement to function, starts to stagnate. Inflammatory markers in the blood begin rising. A study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine followed thousands of adults and found that prolonged sitting was independently associated with higher visceral fat even in people who exercised regularly after work. The people who went to the gym every evening but sat for 8 hours without breaks still had worse visceral fat markers than people who never formally exercised but moved regularly throughout the day. Exercise does not undo sitting. Movement throughout the day and exercise after work are 2 separate variables. Both matter independently. For people in more physically active jobs, sustained immobility still happens during break times, meal times, and commuting. The principle applies whenever your body is stationary for extended periods. The fix for this connects back directly to habit 3. The movement every 45 to 60 minutes is what prevents the prolonged sitting damage from accumulating. When you combine habit 3 and habit 6 into one strategy, you are protecting your metabolism consistently throughout the entire workday. Habit number 7. Turning your commute into a fat-burning window. This is the habit lean people seem to stumble into by accident and never give up once they have it. Your commute home is one of the most underutilized fat burning windows in your entire day. Here is why timing matters here specifically. By the end of your workday, cortisol has been elevated for hours. Your body is still in the metabolic mode of the workday, running on stress hormones, not yet transitioned into evening recovery mode. Light movement during this transition window does something that movement at other times of day does not do quite as effectively. It uses the elevated cortisol as fuel mobilization, which means your body starts pulling from stored fat to power the activity rather than from recently eaten food. At the same time, the movement signals the nervous system that the workday threat is over and that it is safe to begin transitioning toward lower cortisol and repair mode for the evening. Lisa is a teacher. Her school parking lot fills up quickly, so she started parking 2 streets away at the beginning of the year to guarantee a spot. That added about 15 minutes of walking each way. She did not start doing it for health reasons. It was purely practical. After about 6 months, she realized that her belly fat had started responding in a way it never had before, despite her not making any other changes. She had unknowingly added 30 minutes of low-intensity fat burning during the highest cortisol transition window of her day, twice a day. A study from the British Journal of Sports Medicine found that active commuting, walking, or cycling instead of passive commuting was associated with an 11% reduction in obesity risk and significantly lower visceral fat independent of other exercise habits. The fix looks different depending on how you commute. If you drive, park further away than necessary and walk the remainder. If you take public transport, get off one stop early. If you work close to home, walk part or all of the journey. The target is 10 to 20 minutes of walking during the transition between work and home. No gym clothes required. No change of pace from normal walking speed. Just movement during the window when your body is primed to use stored fat as fuel. Here is the complete picture of what decides whether your 8-hour workday helps or hurts your belly fat. Habit 1. The one lean people protect. A 1-liter water bottle on your desk every morning, finished by 3 p.m. Habit 2. The mistake office culture has normalized. Snacking continuously keeps insulin elevated all day with no fat-burning window. Habit 3. The one lean people do without noticing. 5 minutes of movement every 45 to 60 minutes reactivates the fat-burning enzymes that sitting shuts down. Habit 4. The mistake most people call productivity. But coffee after 2 p.m. eliminates the overnight growth hormone fat-burning pulse. Habit 5. The one lean people do quietly. 3 genuine screen-free breaks per day allow cortisol to fall and reset. Habit 6. The mistake that feels like focus. Sitting for 3 to 4 hours continuously raises inflammation and shuts down fat metabolism independently of everything else. Habit 7. The one lean people stumble into. Turning the commute home into a 15 to 20-minute walking window burns fat during the highest cortisol transition of the day. Here is what I need you to understand before this ends. The 8 hours you spend working are not neutral time while you wait to do something good for your body later. They are 8 hours of continuous metabolic decisions that add up to more weekly biology than your gym sessions and your meal choices combined. Lean people are not doing dramatic things during their workday. They are just not breaking the things their body needs to stay in fat burning mode. You do not need to change your job. You do not need more time. You do not need to try harder. You just need to stop sending your body the wrong signals for 8 hours every single day. Try one of these habits starting tomorrow. Just one. Come back in a week and tell me what shifted. Which of these 7 surprised you the most today? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. If this changed how you think about your workday and your belly fat, subscribe to What Science Reveals. Real science explained clearly every single week. And if you want to see how your morning habits connect to everything we covered today, that video is right here. Morning, workday, lunch, and weekend all work together as one complete system. See you in the next one.